Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Google for Startups Black Founders Fund Info Session Town Hall. My name is Onajite. I am the head of Google for Startups for Africa at Google. And here I have with me Dami and Victoria. Would you guys please introduce yourselves?
Sure thing. Thanks a lot, Onajite. Hi, everyone. My name is Damilola Diayela. I'm Director of Startup Support at Co-Creation Hub.
Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Fabumi. I am Head of Investment Management at CC Hub.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. So Victoria and Dami are going to be joining me today as we take you through everything you need to know about the Google Black Founders Fund for Africa. We'll be answering some questions, so please feel free to share your questions in the chat as well. So first off, I'd like to give an overview of the Black Founders Fund for Africa. What exactly is it? So this is a $3 million fund that Google announced a few weeks ago to provide funding and Google product area, technical and business support to 50 early stage startups across the continent. Now it's open to startups from all applicable countries that meet the eligibility criteria, and we will be talking a little bit more about those. Some of the highlights of this fund is, first and foremost, it is a non-dilutive, equity-free cash grant. This means that Google is not going to be taking any equity or stake in your companies. And for those that have already raised funding, your investors can rest assured that their stake in your company will not be diluted at all by receiving this grant. Now, we'll be giving cash awards of between $50,000 to $100,000 per startup, depending on the stage and the needs of each of the companies. We'll also be providing up to $220,000 in Google Ad grants and Google Cloud credits to each selected company. This will go a long way to helping you onboard onto Google Cloud platform and run some Google Ads to promote your company as well. Finally, we'll be giving you access to trainings from our network and our network of mentors and experts that can help each company tackle their unique challenges. Now, we're looking for companies that are early stage, that are based in Africa, and are working for the African continent, but also a global market as well. We're looking at companies who are set to scale and grow, really quickly, who have a live existing products, not just an idea or an MVP, an actual existing product, and a company that is run by a very diverse founding team with at least one Black C-level founder, or a company that is directly supporting the Black community on the continent. So just to recap, you have to be a tech-founded company, you have to be based and operating in Africa, you have to have a diverse team, or you have to be focused on the development of the Black community. Additionally, you have to also have compatibility with Google products in order for you to be selected. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be using absolutely every product that Google has. No, this just means that there is an opportunity for Google to actually support your startup because you are either currently using or interested in using or have the capability to use some of our products that we can then train you on and provide you access to experts. Otherwise, there wouldn't really be much that we could actually do to support you. So Co-Creation Hub is one of our key partners that we selected to help us distribute this funding and also support us in the application process as well, which is really great that we have Dami and Victoria online with us today. So I'm going to hand over really quickly to Damilola, who's going to give us a walkthrough of the application form.
Thank you very much, Jite. So what I'm going to do, so first of all, in terms of the process, and I'll get to that, but just remember that it's ongoing, so the reviews are ongoing. So the sooner you send your applications, the better, especially after this info session. And one thing we're going to shed light on are also like guides. So there are specific questions, there are ways you should answer it, or descriptions that you should take note of. So give me a second to just share my screen so that you can see the application itself. So you can also see, I hope everyone can see on the screen, the link to the application. And I hope you can all see my screen. Jite, please, can you confirm that you can see my screen? All right, good. Okay. So if you come through this link, you would see the Apply Now button here, but you can also go directly to, can you all hear me? Okay. All right, great. Okay, great. So you can also go directly to the link, and you can see the link showing on the screen as well. So that is goo.gle/BFF Africa, and have that on the screen shortly. If you click here, then you'll see the application. So this is the first page of the application form. Trying to make sure that you can see the application form itself. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're good now. So this is the application form itself. You put in your email. Please read the information here, and then you just continue. It's really quick, and it's just one page, and then you'll be able to submit at the end. But let's go through each of the questions, right? So first of all, about you, where's your startup base? So where do you primarily operate? And very important that you look at the descriptions underneath. They're very tiny, but don't miss it, please. And so you can put where your startup is based, and if it's different as well, then you put where it's headquartered. So for some, you might be based in a different location, you might be headquartered in a different location. This is why these are two separate questions. If it's the same, just put the same thing there. And you can simply put the city and the country, and that will be fine. We don't need long addresses for now. What best describes you? So this is, are you the founder? Are you the one of the management of the company? Are you just working for the startup? So please, or an investor. So please fill this accurately. And if you are not one of the, founders or C-level, or maybe you're an investor and you're applying for an organization, there's a part where we ask about the team. Who are the founders. So please ensure that you give us enough information about the founders, if for any reason it's not the founder that is applying. Although we do encourage that the person that applies should be, the founder or one of management. And then this one just asks that you summarize why you're applying for the fund. So we want to know, why is this fund important to you? What would you be using it for? How would it benefit your company? And you can do this in 100 words. Have you been recommended to the program by anyone? You can state this, but please ensure that that person or that organization has recommended you. Don't just put in names in there, because there is part of the process where we also double check. About your startup name, the website. Ensure that your website is working. We've seen some applications where it's not working, doesn't give a good look. So just ensure that at that point in time, it's not down or not working for any reason. So if you put in an application now, make sure that up until at least a week after applications have closed, there's nothing going on with the website. Company overview, and then this one is important. What are your company's top 3 OKRs? Now, there is a link here where you can read about OKRs. So it's like high level, what are your top 3 objectives, right? But it's kind of unique. So OKRs is something that came from Google. So it'd be good for you to read about it if you've never heard of it so that you can answer it appropriately. We've seen some responses that do not answer it appropriately. There is a guide there. Just take some time out to read it. It would also be even good for your company. It's a really good way to be able to structure things within your organization. So even though it's for the application, it will still benefit you. So please make sure you read it and then answer the question. Provide a link to your startup's pitch deck and provide a short video up to 3 minutes. Now, the most important thing here is ensure that the link is not private. It's written here. That's why I say the tiny text underneath each question is very important. If you share a private link, we will not be able to access it. And it's a very good chance that we will not request access. So if you're using Google Drive, make sure it's open. Make sure, even if it's just view only, that's fine. But don't make it a private link. Please, please double check. If you're using OneDrive, make sure that the link is opened. If you're using any other platform, easy one to use would be Google Drive, and you can just easily share that. If you put your video up on YouTube, make sure it's not a private video as well. That one is worse because there's no even way to request access if we wanted to. So please, that's very, very important. A number of people are not making these links public. So please, please do that. Provide a description of your product or service. So this is all straight to the point. What problem or need is your company providing a solution for? And here we really want to know, why is your solution important? What problem in the market did you see that you built this entire company on? So please ensure that you share that in a way that we can understand. It's very easy as the founder or as the entrepreneur running this business to think that everyone is aware of this problem, even if it's an obvious problem. Don't assume that. Just in as much detail as you can, let us know what the problem is. Put numbers if you can. It just give us that much information when we're reviewing. Which industry do you operate in? So this is quite straightforward as well. There's a list and you can pick from it. What is your business model? Is it business to business to consumer, or business to consumer? Okay, I hope we're all still following. Okay, good. All right. And then next up is, what is your startup's main technology? And you can just pick from the list here. What stage is your products or service at? This is very straightforward as well, and you can pick from the list as well. Another one is product or service demo. So please provide a link. If you can do a video, then it's a lot better, as opposed to just a link to a login page when we don't have the login details, So if there is nowhere within the response where you can put test login details, then the best you can do here is do a walkthrough of the platform. So from the front page, you log in, you allow us to see how it works. If you feel that it's better for us to experience it, then if you put the link to a login details here, you can put the login. So if you put the link to where we can log in, you can put the login details, attach it to another response, or put it in bracket on this link if it allows you to do that. But very importantly, that you don't just put link for us to log in with no details. Then we don't get to see the demo of your solution. What countries and markets are you targeting? So there's a different question where it says, like, if you're focused on scaling, which new countries and markets do you plan to target as you scale? So that is like a future projection. This one, what countries and markets are you currently targeting? We really need to, so you might be, operating from Ghana, but you're also targeting, customers or businesses in Nigeria, in Uganda, whatever the case may be. So here we want to find out what other countries, aside from where you are you targeting, including where you are currently operating. These are not like companies in the future, so please don't mix them up so that we clearly understand it. And as Jite had mentioned, your company can be operating in Africa, making real impact in Africa and still have a global view. So don't be afraid to add African countries, and if you're currently even targeting customers in other countries, please add that as well. It's fine. Fundraising and traction. So since it was founded, how much funding has your startup raised now? Also very important that we are looking at this in USD. It's written right under here. This should include grants, equity, and debt investment investment types, please provide the figure in USD. So you can leave this. I know that there is a drop down here, so just practically ignore the drop down and just leave it on USD. Don't select any other thing, because when we look at the amount in number, we are all going to assume that it's USD. So don't put it in your local currency, just change it back to USD. We will check the exchange rate, so don't bother about it. Has your startup raised from any of the following sources? So please fill this. And if it's other, select other. And then if you have raised funding, who are your investors? So as much as possible, tell us who the investors are, especially if you've raised from angel investors, venture capital, or anyone else aside friends and family. Of course, if it's friends and family and self-finance, you don't need to list out all the members of the family or friends that, gave you that funding. But anything else, please do. And if you have not raised any capital, you can select that you haven't raised any capital, okay? Provide details of traction recorded over the last 12 months or since inception. So all of the key metrics and key growth metrics, please endeavor to just share that, and the numbers as well. And you can let us know, we said last 12 months or since inception. So you can just, this is for the last 12 months, or this is maybe since 6 months ago, because that's where we started. So please just make sure you indicate as well what duration we're looking at in terms of traction. What's your startup's monthly revenue? Again, this is in USD. Do not pick anything else from the drop down. Do not put it in your local currency. We will do the exchange, don't worry. Just make sure that this is in USD. And for teams, so co-founders' names, and then also their emails, but also their LinkedIn. So LinkedIn profiles, please ensure that it's updated. I know that it ends, the application deadline is July 7th. Try to start early, but ensure you tell all your co-founders that their LinkedIn profiles need to be updated. We've checked LinkedIn profiles that you can't even tell if the person works in that company, either because they haven't updated it or just forgot to put in that maybe they just joined in recently. So if you're going to put someone's name, co-founder, especially maybe it's you started 6 months ago and you have some traction, let all your co-founders know that you're putting their names here, and their LinkedIn profiles have to be updated to show that they work with the organization. And then also, please provide anything else you'd like to know about you and your co-founder. So it's easy for you to just go over this question and not fill it properly. But I will encourage everyone to take some time out to share, why your team is the best to do this, to execute on this. So whether even as little as, we've been working together for the last 10 years is also important. Or even where you met and how much you've worked together is important. And then also your strengths. So if your co-founder has XX years experience doing this or XXX experience, please feel free. You're better off telling more than telling too little, right? And of course, as long as, just be honest. But we've seen a couple of people just skip over this question. So I'm just encouraging that you take time out to tell us more about you and your co-founder's experience. And there's a description underneath. Include short profiles like bios of founding team members where necessary. So please take advantage of that. And the others are pretty straightforward. So how many people does your startup company employ? How many women does your startup currently employ as well? And these are other questions where you just pick from the options. Which of the following Google products, if any, does your startup currently use? So please select all of the Google products that you use, and not applicable, you can pick, not applicable, but just make sure you go through it because there's quite a long list of it. And I'm sure you probably use one of them. So it would be hard for you to just click not applicable. So make sure you just look through it properly and ask maybe your tech guy or whatever the case may be, do we use this even if you're not aware of it? All right, so these ones are very important questions as well. How would the cash help your startup grow? How would the Google Ad credits help your startup grow? How will Google Cloud credits? And they're all different questions. So please ensure that you give enough responses to this. Let us understand how this will be beneficial to you. So it's almost like a breakdown of the initial question where it said, why you're applying for this fund. So here we can actually go into in the fund, what would the cash help you do? What would the ad credits help you do? And what would the Google Cloud credits help you do? And then just quickly so that we can take questions. These ones are pretty straightforward. Same here, and then just check boxes and you're good to go. Submit. You can submit the application. In terms of process, like I mentioned before, we are currently reviewing. So as applications come in, we're reviewing. You submitted, thanks. If you haven't, we're waiting for your application. Documents, so at some point, if we need extra information or to validate certain information, a member of our team will reach out to you for certain documents, so you can look out for those emails. Ensure that the email that you put and the emails of your co-founders are correct. Those are things that you can double check, because if we're not able to reach out to you, then it would just be unfortunate. If you make it to the next round, that will be the interviews, and you will then meet with members of the Google team who interview you to know whether you're a good fit and whether your startup, is saying, is doing what it says or what you've said in the application. And then the last one will be the final selection from the interview. So it's a very quick process, and hopefully in August, we'll be able to close that out and be able to announce the finalist. So that's it for the application form. I hope I've been able to share some guides and also for the process. But if you have questions, I believe we'll be taking questions now.
Thanks so much, Dami. I hope everyone was able to, hear and follow along with what Dami said, going through the application form. That was really, really enlightening. And thank you so much for, being so thorough and going through all the descriptions. Now we have time for some Q&A for the Q&A section. I don't know what's wrong with me this morning. So like I said earlier, please put in your questions in the chat. So we'll be looking for some of those as well. So putting your questions in the comments. We'll kickstart by going through a few FAQ type questions that we've already seen, coming up as well, and then some of the FAQs that we have on the website in case you've missed them. So the first one is, if my company is headquartered abroad, but I'm operating in an African country, can I apply? So the short answer to this is yes, but the more precise answer is we are looking for startups that are based in Africa. So we understand, there are some nuances where you may have had to have your HQ or, register in another country for investment purposes. We're African, we know the drill, we understand that. But we also want to make sure that your African company is not just a shell, or that is the real operating entity. That is the entity that you are, working in day to day. That is the one that's, at the forefront. So in a, short answer is yes, you can, but please make sure that, your African entity or your African focused entity is the one that is, operating actively. I don't know if Dami and Victoria have anything to add to that.
No, we're good. It's a perfect answer.
Okay, cool. The next question we have here is, what does compatibility with Google products mean? Right. So this comes up, quite often. So when we say compatibility with Google products, and I know, I think I read this comment earlier where someone mentioned, already using AWS or some other product. So we do not mandate that you have to move from AWS to Google Cloud. We're providing you with $100,000 in Google Cloud credits. That can be very useful for your company if you choose to use it, if you choose to migrate to Google Cloud. Compatibility with Google products simply means that we are able to help you. So for example, if your company is looking to expand in terms of, machine learning and AI, if you would like to migrate to Google Cloud, if you're trying to build an Android product, or, you're looking at working with YouTube or the Play team, whatever it may be, that is what we think of as compatibility, where Google can actually help you, where you're seeing, you have an interest in some of our products, or you're currently using some of our products, and we can then help you, amplify your usage, make sure things are running efficiently. We can help you figure out how to, use TensorFlow or Firebase or whatever, any of those products that we have proficiency in. So that's what we mean by compatibility. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are currently using all of Google's products, or you have to migrate from what you're using already to something else. But where you see that there's a fit and an alignment, and you want to come on board, that is where we can definitely help you. I think I'll throw the next one to Dami to answer. Are startups from all countries on the continent eligible to apply?
Okay, so there are, okay. So if you go on the page I showed before the application, we are currently accepting applicants from Botswana, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Mozambique, Nigeria, Rwanda, South Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. And this was just because of the active tech ecosystems. However, if we find strong applications outside of these countries, we will consider.
Awesome. Thank you, Dami. So this question is, what startup stage is Google looking for? If I have an idea or MVP that is yet to launch, can I apply?
Yeah, so for this, we are looking for products that are live in the market already. So if you have an idea or MVP, I would just say wait. Hopefully we have this another round, then you'll probably be ready and good to go. So for now, just hold on to your application and just wait. We wouldn't be accepting that for now. Just live products.
Thanks. So the next question is, since I applied to the program, my startup has significantly evolved. Can I reapply? So this is an existing FAQ question on our website. Chances of this happening because our application window is quite short is very, very unlikely. But if this is the case for you, if within the 3 weeks of the application window something dramatic has happened, please feel free to send another application in.
Okay, then we've answered this one.
Yeah, we've answered this. Let me see. What qualifies as a tech company? Anyone want to take it?
So short answer is they're technology startups, we know that. And then there are businesses where technology is a core to your ability to scale. So if you are leveraging technology and it's a core to your business, then you can apply. If you're still unsure, and this would be, everyone can start saying, is my company applicable, is my company, I would say if you're not sure based on this answer, still apply. And then what's the worst that can happen? But really the answer is technology companies. And then if your business is leveraging technology or technology is a core for it to scale, then apply.
Yeah, I'll just add that, for example, if you are creating an e-commerce platform, that's a sure sign that you are a tech company. But if you are simply selling goods on an e-commerce platform, then you're not a tech company. You're simply just using technology to enable your business. So I think that's an easy way to look at the difference.
So basically think about it as something that wholly leverages technology to get your products to market, or partially. So perhaps it might not be through the entire process where you have developers in-house, but you leverage technology partially to get your products to market. Then, as Dami said, feel free to apply.
Thanks. So the next, I think I've answered this already.
Yeah, we've answered this.
So this is a really good question. So should we have any intellectual property theft concerns, especially as we'll be sharing pre-market product links? So the short answer is no. Your application data will not be shared beyond Google and CC and Co-Creation Hub. We have, NDAs in place. We have a tight contract between both companies, and we will be the only ones that have access to your application data. All the application data will be reviewed in-house. We'll not be sharing any pre-market or anything like that externally. My only caveat with this is if you're sharing pre-market product links, chances are that you are a little bit too early to be applying in the first place. So you might also want to reconsider that as well. If you're sharing pre-market, you're probably at MVP stage or so. And this program is not really for you at that stage anyway.
Yep, nothing to add.
Thanks. So the next one is, will the startup program be discontinued in future? So just to clarify, this is completely different from the Google for Startups Accelerator program. The Accelerator program will continue indefinitely, touch wood. We have no plans to discontinue the Accelerator program. The fund, however, we've opened this fund for 2021. If there will be a fund next year, we will also announce that publicly and let people know. But there will still be, even if you don't get into the program to receive the grant, to receive the fund, you can always apply to the Accelerator program. There is still ongoing support for startups by Google. The next question is a little bit repetitive. I think we've touched on this already. How about assessment? I think Dami did mention.
Yeah, but I can go. So we hope to announce in August. So pretty quickly, if you ask me, in August. We are currently reviewing applications as they come in. So like I said, I encourage you to apply as soon as possible, but of course, take your time to put in the best application. We'll review all, don't worry.
Yes. And then of course, I mean, if you are not selected, you'll be informed as well. So
Yes. And I guess there are other questions around selection process. Again, we're reviewing. We may ask for extra documents as part of a due diligence. And then after that, there will be interviews with the Google team where they would get to meet you and learn more about your business. And then the final selection will be made, because I've seen some more questions around what's the process. But I've covered that.
Thanks, Dami. So are not-for-profit companies eligible? Victoria, do you want to take this one?
So not-for-profit companies, I don't know that eligible for this. However, if you can fit into the box where you're defined as a social entrepreneur, we'll look at your application. And we've seen some people applying. If you're leveraging technology to put in your solution or create social growth, and we can define you as a social entrepreneur, I guess we will consider it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Just to add, you do have to be a profit-making company, but we will definitely, look at social. We want companies that have amazing stories as well, amazing stories of impact. So social entrepreneurs are very, very, very welcome. Am I eligible if I don't have a co-founder?
Yeah, you are. As long as it's not one of the short answer is yes, you are eligible.
But it's
as
so
long as
hard.
you're African. I know. I know it's so hard. But as long as you're an African as well, because now you're the only one, so that's important.
And you meet the other criteria.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and you meet the other criteria, of course.
So what are the acceptable uses of funds?
It's an interesting question. I feel like throwing back the question is like, what do you want to use the funds for?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, don't use the funds to go and buy yourself a Mercedes or a Range Rover.
No. Also, I don't think you use the funds for tithing as well, but let's not go into that. Funds should be used for your business, for your company, to scale your company, really. It's equity free, so this is actually a good opportunity for you to, try out that thing you wanted to try with your business, scale your company with added funds. Don't use it for anything else outside of what your company needs.
So think about critical things like scaling your team, strengthening your team, perhaps products, strengthening your products, trying new markets outside the one you're currently in. Things that would add value to the business and perhaps significantly improve the impact you're currently making.
Exactly. Thank you. Can a company receive less than 50K? No, 50K is the minimum. So it's between $50,000 or $100,000, depending on the stage your company is at and the needs of your company as well. How many startups will be selected? 50. Fingers crossed. Does your assessment require the company to be generating revenue? So this is an interesting question because we know, I mean, part of why you'd be applying for this fund is, if you do have some challenges and you need cash flow, you need money to, boost your company. But at the same time, we are also looking at companies that have traction and are geared to survive. So I think this question can't be answered like as a one size fits all. We have to look at it, on a case-by-case basis. If you're very, very new to the market, you may not necessarily be generating revenue yet. If you're maybe B2C and you're about to lock in, your big client or whatever it may be, you may not be generating revenue. But also, if you're not generating revenue, that could also be a sign that, your business is not particularly viable, or it's not in the right market, or you're not targeting the right consumers. That, again, could be a flag. So like I said, there's no one size fits all answer for this. We'll just have to, look at each, application on its own merit and decide based on that. So even if you're not generating revenue now, still apply if you genuinely believe that your company is very strong and doing very well, has, amazing potential. And by potential, I mean it's an existing company, not an idea, but it's an existing company that is set to grow. Again, I think what I said kind of answers this question. Must the company be profitable? Again, we'll look at the numbers that you provide. We'll look at, the traction, and we'll see on a case-by-case basis. This is interesting. If I have been in operation for over a year, but paused for rebranding, will I be considered?
Not sure what that means, but I think maybe, no, I don't know what that means.
Are you still on board with the question? You come out of hibernation, have you put your product back into the market?
Yeah.
Because if you're still in hibernation mode, then we're not sure how to define that.
I guess, we'd have to just look at your application and see what's happening there. This is very unique. So this question, what if the business is focused on Africa, but the founders are not Black? So part of the eligibility criteria does state that you should have a diverse team. However, we will not be asking any racially based questions. So we've made it clear in the eligibility criteria that you should have a diverse team. We would hope that you'd have at least one Black C-level founding member, or your company is focused directly on impacting the Black community. Hopefully this answers your question. If the founders are not engaged in the company on a full-time basis, is that a problem?
Yes, that's a problem. The short answer to that is yes. There will be, if it's a strong application, fine, but you would understand that there will be companies with full-time founders, and we don't believe that you'll be able to then scale the company if it's not full-time. But submit your application if you believe it's strong. But there will be others with full-time founders, and they'll probably take more importance, I guess, just to be honest.
Yeah. Can non-Black people present part of the submission materials? I think I kind of answered this question above. So yes, the answer to that is yes. But provided you meet, the eligibility criteria around, having a diverse team, focusing on the Black community, etc. I think, are you eligible if your company does not have any customers yet?
This means there's probably no revenue, right? So it's tied to the same question. Yeah.
I think we can answer this with the 30/MVP statement.
Yeah. So we are looking for companies that have proven traction. So however you measure that, that could be in terms of, number of active users or users retained. That could be in terms of, how much funding you've raised. That could be in terms of how much revenue you're generating. So we'll look at, all of those factors put together. If you're kind of on 0, 0, 0, 0 everywhere, chances are you're probably a little bit too early. We're not saying you have to have raised tons of money, but even your own money should be in the company if you put your skin in the game. You don't have customers yet. Have people tested it? Are people using it? How do we know that this is something that has a real use case in the market? So yeah, we'll be evaluating based on all of those things. Do volunteers count as employees? I'm not sure. I think that would kind of depend on how your company views them.
Yeah. I guess if you can just put that they are volunteers in the application, if it allows for that, and you can put in bracket volunteers, then that will be good. This is kind of a unique case as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, another question. Is that the last question? I think they're a bit...
So I have one here. I'm just picking a few from. So when is the funding be dispensed directly after selection, or is there any accelerating mentoring program involved that needs to be passed first? So I think I'll let Dami answer partly, but just to say there will be a mentoring program as well. It's not going to be like the accelerator program where everybody undergoes the same, trainings and mentorship and all of that. This will be highly geared towards each individual company's needs and where we see, alignment in terms of where Google PAs can actually support. So if, we have 10 companies that are trying to build with Android, they'll go that route. If we have 5 that are looking at AI and ML, we'll go that route. So it is a little bit more tailored. And then we'll have mentors as well to support you from within Google and also our mentor network. So Dami can touch on the funding disbursement process.
Yeah, so it will be disbursed in 2 tranches, and the first one will be right immediately after the paperwork is done. So once selection is done and all the paperwork is done, then you receive the first tranche, and then the other one will come in. We'll give more details to those who make it through the round as well.
Thanks.
Yeah, we've answered this one, I think.
Yeah, I'm just scanning through to see this.
Okay.
Some of them are very similar to what we have already answered.
So I saw a question around the OKRs, that they had missed OKRs, and I think the video. But I think so in terms of the video, quality of the video, if you can get video person or videographer, fine. If you're using your phone, fine. But just let it be audible, let it be clear, let the video be clear. It's an application, so just put your best foot forward. And then for OKRs on the application, there's something that talks about what are your 3 OKRs for your company. So I said there's a link at the bottom just below that particular question. And you can go to that link and read more about OKRs. In general, it will help your company. But it's simply just high level. It's like saying what are the 3 key objectives and the results from those objectives that you'll be tracking in the future. But I was just encouraging that you read that link and then answer the question. So you have the right answer to that question. Don't just say, oh, I don't know what this means, and answer something and move on. It might not be to your benefit. So just take some time out to read.
Okay, so can a company be overlooked for having 2 strong factions, say revenue of over 300? I would say the short answer is no. We are looking for companies that have great traction, so that's great. But the question is, do you actually need the 100K or the 50K? Do you need the support? So that's the question you should be asking yourself, and that's also what we'll be looking at in your application form. Also, we're looking at companies that are fundraising. So if you're raising your seed or your Series A, that's perfect. But if you're like on your Series C or Series D, you might not necessarily need this at this time. So you might want to leave room for others that are a little bit earlier and have a few more needs than you. If you're looking for a direct conversation with Google, maybe send an email or send me a DM on Twitter rather than applying for the program.
Yeah, I think you've answered it. Yeah, I was just going to add that there are questions that I ask, what would you use the fund for? So if you think that, it might appear that I have too strong traction, but I really need this, then let's just see it in the application why you really need it, whether it's the ad credit or the cloud credit or the cash. Yeah. But nothing else to add, GT.
Okay, great. So this question, do we have access to this session after it ends? Yes, so it's going to be live on our YouTube page. So what is it called? So I'll drop the link as well. We'll drop the link on Twitter. We'll drop the link on our various Twitter pages as well. So the video can easily be, rewatched afterwards. And I think the link might still work. So the same link that you used to view the live stream, I think, I'm not 100% sure. But definitely it will still be available on the Dev Communities Africa YouTube page.
Okay. Will the grant be converted to? Oh, okay.
So the grant will continue to stay in USD. There's no intention that it will be converted to local currency because people are applying from very different countries. So it will be in USD.
Okay. And then a final question: if tech is core to the business model but not the sales product, are we eligible?
So I mean, these are that's why I said that this particular question, we can go over it in many different ways depending on the company. So we had answered initially saying that, tech startup, yes, if technology is core to your business, to scaling your business, apply. Now there are different nuances. And if you're not sure, I will advise, there's no harm, just apply. And maybe in the application show us how technology is being used in case you feel like it will be
Oh, I think that's scamming.
Yeah. But essentially, think about it as wholly or partially. If you're using it wholly end to end, then you should apply. If you're using it partially as part of your process, whether it's for sales or not, then you should apply. The strength of your application will determine how we review and select.
Thanks, Victoria. I think we'll just take this question. So for providing details of 12 months traction details may require tabulation, can we provide a link to a detailed tabulated data? So I would say try to summarize as much as possible. But if you do want to provide us with a link, make sure that it is open for anybody to have access to, because the last thing you want is to send us a link, we can't open it, we request access, we never get it, and then we never see the data and we're not able to make a decision. We have hundreds and potentially thousands of applications to go through. So chances are we may not be able to reach out to you directly to ask you to clarify. So don't shoot yourself in the foot. If you can provide the data in the text box provided, please do. If you're sending us any links, make sure that we can open them, just so that you don't put yourself in a bad situation. Let me see. Go through.
I think we've answered that. Let's see if there's anyone. If quantifiable, there's one around. If quantifiable, can personal invested funds / workhouse be considered as capital investment? There is a question there, and part of the options is self-finance. So you can just select that you have put in your own funds. So the short answer to that is yes. There's also another question I've seen. Must we provide business traction for 12 months, or can you provide for a more specified duration? I had also answered that initially, that it says 12 months or since inception. I know for a number of people, the pandemic year has been cancelled. So for a number of businesses, I can understand where we might be going with this. So just give us, you can specify a duration. And I'd even encourage that for answering that question, specify the duration that you're giving us traction on. So short answer is yes, you can do that. Right.
I'm not seeing anything new.
Okay. I think there's a question that has been repeated a lot, and we've answered it, but maybe again on the founder question, what if you have multiple co-founders? Some are full-time, some are not.
So I would say for that one, the most important, let me not say the most important, but the compulsory co-founders would be the CEO and the CTO, because this is a tech program. If the CEO and CTO are full-time, but the others are not, that's okay. But if the CTO is not full-time, I think that would be a red flag for us.
All right, that answers it. Team. Is there a minimum number for the team? No, there is no minimum. Someone even asked if they're a solo founder, if they can apply, and you said yes. So there's no minimum.
So there's this one. So could you indicate in your application you're based in more than one African country? So in the application form, there are two questions. There are two questions where it asks about your country. One is where is the headquarters? I think the other is where you operate. So if those are two different countries, you can list both. If you're based in multiple countries, please go with the one that is the HQ or the main hub of operation. Please list that one. You can always put in there's another question where I ask what other countries are you planning to or currently operating in, so you can list all the others there as well.
Yeah.
Is there a business? Whether it's franchise. Anyone have, so where the business uses franchise to serve end users for traction, can the franchises be regarded as customers?
For clarity, under the traction, you can actually add much detail. So put franchises as franchises, and then put customers as well. But Victoria, I don't know if you want to add to this.
Yeah, absolutely. As Damia said, kindly separate the two, franchisees as franchisees or customers as customers. We understand that the business would obviously come under HQ, and so any customer acquired by the franchise would be assigned to you as well. But it would be great to have that separation so we can understand absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess in another part of the application, there are some questions that you can also explain your model. Even in the slide, the deck, also explain your model so we get it. And this is just another reminder for everyone, because I know people would have just joined in newly. Do not put private links in the application. I'm really begging for your benefit, because everyone makes this mistake. Good applications, great applications, bad applications, whatever the case may be. So make sure if it's a Google Drive link, it's open, it's public. You can leave it as view only, but just make sure it's not private. If it's a video you've uploaded on YouTube, make sure it's not private, because that's worse. We can't even request access. Some people have used other platforms as well, and for some reason, maybe the link expires. Don't use platforms where the link would expire. Even if you put the link for July, God knows when, it's just risky. Just use a platform where the link would always be there, and just leave it there until we make an announcement, because you just never know.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, we've answered this question earlier, but it's possible that you joined late. So can a fashion/creative hub that leverages technology for daily activities or service delivery apply? I'm reading this as a fashion or creative business where potentially you sell clothes and other things on an e-commerce site. So if you are not building the technology behind the e-commerce site, for example, then you would not necessarily be considered as a tech company. So in that case, no, you wouldn't be eligible. And then for this CEO, CTO bits, maybe I spoke a little bit too quickly. So what we were essentially saying is if you have, multiple co-founders, the CEO and the CTO must be full-time, fully engaged in the company, fully engaged in the program as well. Other C-level co-founders may or may not be. That's okay. But essentially, we find that the CEO and CTO are really, really, really core to the business and also to being successful in the program. If the CEO is the CTO, great. That also works. But just make sure that, at least the CEO and CTO are full-time and fully engaged. I think we've pretty much gone through all of it. I think we've answered everything. If you joined late, it's very, very likely that we answered your question earlier in the video, in the session. So please, feel free to watch this video again. Dami, Victoria, any closing words before we wrap up?
Just no. Watch this video again, especially if you didn't come from the beginning. It's very important because I did go through the application form and actually then gave guide for each of the question. So just saying that if you didn't join at that point, please watch again to be able to get that information. Wish you all the best. Please put in the best application. Put your best foot forward. Like I said, if you're not sure, there are nuances. If you're not sure of something, there's no harm in still applying. But we're also either on social media, if you have more questions, I don't know if you'll be able to ask more questions in the comment section, we'll be available to answer, or even shoot us an email at startups@tchubnigeria.com. We can answer any follow-on questions that you have. But yeah, wishing you all the best.
There is one question that I'm looking for. I may have missed. I'm trying. There it is. So Leonie is asking. She's not a Black woman, but a woman of color in South Africa. Can I still apply? So we understand. And why I pulled this question out is initially I thought it was repetitive, but I understand that in South Africa we understand there are nuances around white and non-white. So we fully understand that, and we're open to receiving applications from people that are of all races. The caveat is that your company should at least be diverse. If not, it should be focusing on supporting the Black. And in South Africa, we understand the broad definition of Black, or should I say colored, community in the country. So I hope that answers your question, Leonie. And on that note, thank you everyone for joining us.
Feel free to share the links, get people that you think are eligible, even if you're not. If you're an investor, part of an indoor network, and you have good portfolio companies that would also meet the criteria, get them to also apply.
Oh, and just one more thing. Yeah, and just one more thing. This is open for both men and women. So please, encouraging women as well as men to apply. I know there was another fund as well, but don't confuse it. This one is also open to both men and women running great companies. So please all apply.
Yes, just to touch a little bit more on that. Thank you, Dami, for bringing that up. So there was a Google.org grant of $3 million given to the Tony Elumelu Foundation to support women MSMEs. So those are micro, small, and medium enterprises. So chances are none of the people who would qualify for this grant would be considered as micro, small, medium enterprises. We're looking at, kind of mom and pop shops, traders, those kinds of, people, those kinds of companies would be, more likely to qualify for that Google.org related grant. So those are two completely separate things. And also that is women focused. So it's focused around empowering women to be business owners and entrepreneurs at a much smaller, earlier scale than this program. So just if there is any confusion, hopefully that clarifies it for you all. Thank you so much. We've actually run out of time. You can post more questions in the comments. We will try to come back and maybe answer some in the chat later on as well. But please, please, please make sure you apply before the 7th of July. We will not be leaving it open for anybody, your pastor, your mom. We can help you once it closes. So please, please, please make sure you apply on time. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.